Dauphin's Country Fest Stories from the Hill, presented by Bell MTS,
is a look back at the roots of our festival, an authentic showcase of those special moments where artists and fans connected in their own way. There's so much more meaning to Dauphin's Country Fest than the party itself, stories we would like to share. It's easy to forget that this is a nonprofit organization when you see the unbelievable mark it's made on the community and the countless organizations that have benefited from it. Bell MTS's Stories from the Hill will highlight and keep some of those memories and special stories alive until the next time we can gather on the hill for Dauphin's Country Fest.
Is this where you do a lot of your Zoom calls if you have to do?
Some of them, yeah. Kind of dig it.
It's so good because so many people have like either awards behind them, you know, or they've got like their library so that to show all the books they've never read, but like that they've been given as gifts.
These are all the tools I've never used.
Yeah. Are you
I tell people it costs a lot of money for this custom digital background.
It's very good. Yeah. Is the are you in like a little bit of land, or is it a subdivision, or what's the deal?
No, I live in an old section of Lethbridge. It's like the old cool section.
Yeah.
Live in a big old house. It's cool. Like we have the family ranch, which is an hour away. I spend a lot of time there too.
Yep.
But Lethbridge is awesome because it's super dead, right? And if it wasn't for like if I didn't have the job I have, I'd probably be a little bored here. But I love it because like it's big enough. It's got a Home Depot and everything, but it's just dead here, right? It's just like super mellow, old. It's like old and quiet. And so when I have the rest of my life's fucking chaos, right?
Yeah.
So it's awesome coming home from a tour and coming here because it's like no traffic. I can get anywhere in 3 minutes in town. It's awesome.
Do you know other people there? Do you have family or friends?
Yeah, that's why I'm here. Yeah. Well, my best friend lives from childhood lives 3 blocks away. And my mom's half an hour away. My brother's half an hour away. The ranch is an hour away. So yeah, it's awesome. I moved to Edmonton right out of high school for 25 years, 23 years. And I miss people up there, but this is a really positive move for me. I love it here.
When you say ranch, do you mean the cabin?
Say again?
When you say ranch, the ranch, do you mean the cabin that you had?
No, I sold that because that was up by Edmonton.
Oh, okay. I thought so. Okay. All right.
It's our family ranch that we've had since like 1898 or something.
It's been in your family that long?
Actually, sorry, 1902. Yeah.
Okay. You were way off.
Yeah, wrong country.
We're going to go back and review the tape.
My grandpa came up from Utah in 1898, but he bought the place in 02. He worked for some of the big ranches here for a few years and decided he liked it and stayed here.
Wow. What did he, I didn't know that there was the American kind of lineage there. What was he doing in Utah? What did your grandfather do in Utah?
He was I don't know if he was a road gambler actually, but his like the lineage is Mormon, right? There was a really big Mormon migration. My dad's side also. There's a big Mormon migration from Utah to southern Alberta on the turn of the century because the Utah people had gone out and started a society way before the West got there, like just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And fighting off the locals and everything. And they were doing their own thing, being polygamous. Not my family, immediate family, but the Mormons back then were being polygamists.
Yeah.
So when civilization marched west, the feds told them can't be doing that anymore.
Yeah.
So there was almost a fight. Like the army was at the gates of Salt Lake City.
You're gonna have to holster those weapons, sir.
So they sent people to Mexico and Canada to start new colonies, I guess you call it. And then after that, there was also a bunch of free land. So after they established that was like in 1870 something, there became a big migration route from Utah up to southern Alberta because there was a lot of land and they had irrigation expertise, so they were quite welcome here. So there's a whole southern Alberta has a bunch of Mormon enclaves because of that migration. So both sides of my family are part of that.
Northern Alberta as well, up in La Crete, right? I
don't know if there's much Mormonism up there. Traditionally, it might be now, but
I thought there might. I know the Mennonites are up there, which is a little bit. Obviously, it's different. I know that the Rempels, for example, Brad and Curtis Rempel, their parents came up from Mexico. I think it was part of a migration out of Mexico.
Well, there's also a big Mexican Mennonite population in southern Alberta as well.
Is that right, huh?
Like none of my immediate family are Mormon, but that's the history of it. Like my great grandpa that settled the ranch I'm talking about. Yeah, he was a like a road gambler, card cheat in Montana for a long time. I have a buddy who's a Montana historian, and he actually found his name in the Butte. Like Butte used to be a boom town, Butte, Montana.
Yep.
And a lot of gambling and a lot of like copper mines and stuff, a lot of money flying around. But they found his name in the police blotter as being some kind of a gang of. He is arrested as part of a gang of card cheats or something.
Really? That's amazing. Road gambler is an interesting term. I haven't heard that before. I haven't heard the term road gambler.
Well, it's like in the old days. It's kind of a deal where you travel around and hustle people. I think I'm reading.
Yeah, you have to stay moving because you'll get killed if you stay in one spot.
Yeah, I'm sort of reading between the lines, but from some of the stories I've heard from my grandpa, like this would have been my grandpa's dad, right? Apparently there's a story actually about how once my great grandpa settled in southern Alberta, he had a ranch there.
Yeah.
That I'm talking about. Another guy came into town and beat a number of the local ranchers out of their deeds. And there's this, I don't know how true it is, but the family lore says that they all called up my great grandpa to go and play cards with this guy, and they played cards for like 3 nights and days straight, and he eventually won all the ranchers' deeds back for him.
This should be you should write this script, man. That's a good story.
The kicker is that he apparently held on to him for a couple of years before he gave him back.
How long have you been in Canada? Like, when was the last time you were across the border?
We were on tour in March in Colorado. We were 1 week into a 5-month tour, and the shit hammer hit us. Yeah, it's been, I guess March we were in Denver was our last show.
Yeah, there's a lot of people whose March tours and whatever were going on got shut down at that point. What did you think? What was the, it's a little bit.
It really fucked me hard because like just the timing of it, like if it had happened during a writing period of my cycle, it wouldn't have really mattered, right? But we had deliberately not played Canada for a couple of years, and we'd spent a bunch of money on publicists and tour bus improvements and stage banners and videos and all the shit. And we were like just ready to cash in. Like we hadn't played Canada for a couple of years, and we just the bow pulled back, you know. And we had the tour, the fucking stage plotted out, everything, and then it just went sideways. So yeah, it kind of fucked me. And my record had to come out in the middle of it too. But whatever.
Right. That's right.
It's funny because when you put those two factors on I lost a bunch of money, and I also had to release my record, both of which really suck. But if you take those two things and compartmentalize them, the break's been all right. I've played a ton of guitar, and I'm writing a bunch and catching up on stuff and really digging into my singing. And so it's been pretty positive actually that way.
Why did you have to release the record?
Well, it was already in motion. Like we had it ready for release in April, and then we postponed it to June, not knowing what was going to happen.
This is agricultural tragic we're talking about.
Yeah. And by the time the gears are already in motion, and it had already been pitched to the services and the label lined up. So, and we started to realize this could be a long time, which it is turning out to be a long time. So it's like, fuck you gonna do, right?
Yeah.
I could have sat on it for 18 months, but that doesn't really do me any good.
No. I've been talking to a lot of artists over the last 10, 11 months, whatever. And there's a couple of people that stand out, like the Chicks, who used to be called the Dixie Chicks. They hadn't released a record for 13 years. And the spot that they picked to come back and do it is in the middle of a pandemic. I know that Sam Hunt, who had incredible success with his debut album Montevallo, waits, I think it was almost 7 years to release the follow-up to his debut album, which was obviously in the pop country world hotly anticipated, and it's in the middle of a pandemic that he can't tour behind. So there was I know Corb was out on tour. They had to pull that off. There were some people, Canadian artists I know who were in Europe for the first time, getting some traction over there. You obviously, not having played Canada for as long as you did, it's been a culture shift. Yeah, it's kind of weird because like big picture, like it sucks not to be able to tour your record, but I don't know, like big picture, it's hard to say how it's going to be remembered because this is a period of time like the Cuban Missile Crisis or World War II. Everybody's going to remember this time together, right? And so big picture, like it doesn't help me right now much, but big picture, if you put out a good album, like I've had a ton of people say, thank God we had some new music to listen to. Yep.
So it might be one of those things where it holds a place in people's hearts, you know?
That has absolutely been the case for many people that I've talked to. The fact that live music wasn't an option meant that for so many years, as a live touring musician, you'll know this, that kind of the album was the thing to put out to make sure that to promote the live gigs. And so live music was kind of like, that was the pinnacle. You had to see people live. Live music was the whole reason behind the music industry. And for a little while, maybe recorded music took a bit of a back seat, especially with the way that it was maybe devalued with streaming and stuff like that. And
you don't get paid on it anymore.
Going back to Napster or whatever, kind of the value of recorded music was taken away, but the live product was what moved the industry. And for this period of time, I think people have started to, or they've realized the love that they have for an album or recorded music.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And on the other side of it too, it's nice to be missed, because I've had a ton of people say, "Oh God, can't wait till you guys play shows again." So that's nice.
Yeah. How are the Hurtin' Albertans doing?
They're good. Yeah, they're doing their thing. They're Brady farms, so he's cool. He doesn't care. And Kurt has a flex job at the post office.
Yep.
So he's a mail deliverer whenever we're off the road. So they just kind of plugged him into full time for the time being, because there's so much package delivery.
Yeah.
And Grant's just he's just hustling, doing gigs and recording and stuff like that.
That's good. All right.
You know what's funny is when Napster happened, what was that, 15 years ago?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more even.
Funny. Whenever that happened.
Yeah.
I got asked endlessly in interviews, like, how is this going to affect you? It's funny because I used to say, well, I've always been a live guy, and I mean, it'll affect me a little bit, but I live to tour, so it doesn't really affect me as much as a lot of guys who count on radio play and stuff. And like I was like, live music's never going away, so I'm good, right?
I know.
Little did I know.
Well,
I don't honestly, man, I don't know when it's coming back, because my management's, everyone tries to be optimistic, of course, but I think I don't know, man, it's going to be a while still, because like we're going to be the last people back to work, because our job's to get big groups of people in a tight little space and get them all sweaty and shit, right?
Yeah. Well,
so I don't know, like they're talking, our tour got pushed back 3 times to November 21. I'm hearing summer is going to be fucked. Whether or not our tour in November goes, who knows? Depends on the numbers, I guess.
Well, Dauphin's Country Fest always takes place in and around Canada Day that weekend. And it certainly does seem optimistic right now, that's for sure, even though it's an outdoor festival and stuff.
And it's tough with festivals, because you can't just turn that on a dime.
No, it's a year-round proposition with booking the acts and getting people to,
and sell tickets and promote it and get your porta potties lined up. Everything, right?
Yeah, exactly right. No, that's right. But I mean, everybody at Dauphin's Country Fest realizes like this is an integral part of the community, not just in Dauphin, but in Manitoba. And as a not-for-profit, all of the proceeds going back into the community over the years, this is a thing. The line that we've been using is the show must go on. So another kind of analogy I've been using is my mom about Christmas. This past Christmas said, listen, I'm willing to give up Christmas this year so that we can have many more Christmases together. And certainly last year in 2020, we thought, okay, we're going to have to swallow it, but it might be that 2021 doesn't see festivals either. That said, thinking about Dauphin, if we can talk about the festival just for a second, I'm just.
What is their plan? Are they?
Well, listen, like you said about your management company, everything is in place,
right,
for it to go ahead if the green light happens and if people feel. But ultimately, the number one responsibility of everybody right now is to stay safe. And so it wouldn't be imperative on our part as people who work at Country Fest to put a festival on where people's lives are going to be endangered. So that's going to be number one. Then if everybody all of a sudden gets vaccinated and people are safe and the right parameters are in place, then we can go ahead and pull the trigger. And if not, hopefully the people who've already bought tickets, they leave their money, and so this festival can survive and it rolls over for 2022. But I mean, this is a festival that, we've been saying the show must go on because it's just a part of the community. It's not just a money-making thing for some corporations,
Yeah.
Bit of a different deal.
It's gonna be weird too, because I talked about this with my management lots. It's like there's a few different factors, because one factor is it allowed legally, right? And I mean, you look at the states and every state handles it differently, but then there's an ethical question and an optical question, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be the asshole. Well, both for actual ethical reasons, you don't want to spread it around, but you also don't want to be looked at as the asshole who had the show in the middle of when it was too early, right? So there's going to be a lot of factors to weigh before we can actually get back in gear again.
There's a corporate ability to the community, a cultural responsibility to the community, the ethical responsibility to the people that if they hear that a festival is happening, they'll show up because they trust people in positions of power that they wouldn't put on a festival if it was going to be unsafe. So you have to take all of those things, and even the artists. I mean, I'm sure you would have to question whether or not you were prepared to have your fans' lives put at risk, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm watching in the States, because like in Texas and Florida, they don't give a fuck, right?
I know.
and some states are totally locked down. So like I got some buddies that are more on the countryside of things who might be a little more politically conservative who are just playing as normal in those states. And then I got friends that live in other states that are super locked down, and they're not even going anywhere near shows. So it's unfortunately, it's almost going to be, I think it's going to become almost a political thing.
Well, it's already a political thing. It's already political.
Every fucking thing. But I mean, the choice to play shows on the part of a band is going to become a statement too, unfortunately, right?
I was talking to Terry Clark last week, and she was saying that she couldn't in good conscience put a show on and put her fans at risk, put anybody at risk, because she couldn't live with herself if she knew that somebody contracted something at one of her shows, or maybe took that back home to one of her parents or a grandparent or something like that. And that maybe, not that her concert would be ground zero, but certainly a place where it was transmitted.
Although, I mean, for both reasons. She personally doesn't want to do that to people, but you also don't want to be like, hey, super spreader event, trace back to Terry Clark show.
Right?
Dauphin Country Fest or Corb Lund show, whatever. Right?
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. So it's a tough one, and then there's the hurdle of getting people to take it. Like, first of all, we need to have enough vaccinations around. Then we need to get everybody to agree to take it, because there's a group of people out there who are like, I think it's going to cause it, and so you kind of got people arguing against science as well a little bit too. But that's
a tough one for me, because I'm nowhere near being an anti-vaccination person, but I also don't super trust pharmaceutical companies, and it makes me a little bit nervous that it's being rushed to market. I mean, you got to trust the scientists, I guess, but there is money flying around there too.
Yeah, but you should do a little bit more digging and listen. The stuff that they're doing is already based on existing vaccinations that have been around for a long time. They're tweaking it just a little bit. They're super safe, and it's not really in their best interest to kill large swaths of the population, right? They need people around.
About the nightmare George Orwell scenario where they give it all to like the first responders, like all the nurses and doctors and cops and firemen, and they wipe them all out.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. There's a little extra, little fear mongering for you. Jesus Christ. It is. You know what though? The amount of times I've heard people throw around the term Orwellian over the last like 6, 7, 8 months.
Well, it is a bit weird. I mean, I get it. Like, but yeah, there is a balance between the public good and personal freedom. That's always going to be there, right?
Yeah. I mean, at some point, if you shut the world down, it will stop existing, right? So there has to be a reasonable approach.
Benefits, health, psychological, social, but detriments to. We're all feeling a little fucking wacky at this point, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you said your management company and stuff, they're moving ahead. The same way Dauphin is moving ahead in case things are ready, but they're prepared for them not to be ready. Your management company has, and your label and all that stuff, they have to move ahead, and touring companies have to move ahead, because what's the option? The option is turn out the lights.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not really an option. So
I don't know. They'll figure it out eventually, sooner or later, whatever. I'm just rolling with the punches.
Yeah. There you go. I'm
honestly looking at it as a mandatory professional development sabbatical. Like, I'm taking voice lessons and guitar lessons and writing a shit ton and stuff like that.
That's pretty good. So do you have you have a follow-up to Agricultural Tragic ready to go?
No, I'm working on that now.
Yeah.
We're actually I don't know if there's any place to use this, but we're actually putting out a new single next week, which was like, we're releasing a deluxe version of Agricultural Tragic with 4 new tunes on it, including a duet called Horsepour that I wrote and sang with my friend Jada Dreyer. It's like
Jada Dreyer, nice.
Yeah, she's a buddy. It's like
cool.
It's about I tell people it's about a guy in love with a woman and a woman in love with their horses.
I like to play house poor, horse poor, right?
Yeah, same.
Very good.
That's actually a word that's used in the Western community.
Horse poor.
Yeah, a lot too many ponies, not enough money, right?
Right.
So we shot a video for it. It's pretty funny, actually. I'll get my people to send it to you.
Your people. All right.
I
look forward to it. All right. Just give me, if you can, wrap your head around. I know you've been playing I mean, you probably played in North America alone 150 different festivals multiple times, right?
Probably.
So, yeah. Dauphin's Country Fest, the actual location, the physical location of that amphitheater is kind of unique, right? It's like built right into it's built into the geography of the
Yeah,
place.
it's a cool natural bowl, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So
my favorite part is the saloon up top.
Yeah.
That's where all the good shit happens. You know, I've always told people that's one thing I love about Dauphin is that I think that was his name Neil. He passed away a few years ago.
Eric.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always been champions at that festival for we fringe weirdos, you know, like whether it's me or some of my friends from the States that play Americana or some of the underground country artists here in Canada. I've always really appreciated, like I played the main stage there too, but I played lots of times up top there at late at night on the freak stage.
The freak stage.
That's right. That's where all the good in my, you know where I'm at with that stuff. That's where all the
do. I do.
But not all festivals cater to that, so it's nice to have both. You know,
it's true. Yeah, you'll get like A-list US. You know, Carrie Underwood will play the main stage downstairs, but you'll have Justin Townes Earl. I mean, you'll have Hayes Walker. You have different guys down. I mean, who are some of the guys that you've seen up there? Some of your pals.
Well, Hayes Carl, actually, he's an old friend. In fact, we can get to that in a minute. I met him in Dauphin, but I've
interviewed him there.
Yeah. Yep. So I think Lindy Ortega and Swifties and Ridley Bent, I think.
Who am I'm blanking on somebody right now, Corb, and I'm going to kick myself for it when you say his name. But who's our buddy that I used to? You introduced me to him. You toured with him. Canadian guy from Alberta. Tim Huss.
Yeah, he's played there, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, he has. Have you talked to Tim in the last little while?
Not for a little while, no. I don't know what he's up to. I should call him.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking to Tim just because it's just a different experience. He's it's a trip. His meter is completely unique.
Yeah, I can't quite figure it out. It's like it's like a dash of Maritimes with a dash of Kootenai, BC, with a dash of Stompin' Tom mixed all together.
Yeah, with either something he smoked or something. It's just a very that guy has never rushed for a thing in his life.
Yeah, no, he's a cool character.
I like him a lot. I like Tim Huss a lot. We did a few things with him over the days at CMT, just because. Not because there was any of the CMT viewers clamoring for his videos, but it was more like, and due respect to Tim, because he's a great musician, but just because we really enjoyed his personality and his music was so unique that it warranted airtime.
Yeah. Well, he became pretty close to Stompin' Tom. He toured with him a bunch of stuff. I think he had a similar relationship with Tom that I have with Ian Tyson, right?
Okay, yeah.
Well,
I think your relationship with Ian Tyson was probably a little easier to manage than one with Stompin' Tom, because I know Tom required his allies to stay up into the wee hours with him every single night. So
yeah, like Tim told me about that. That's a true story. Like he forces you to drink with him.
Yeah, I remember.
You weren't allowed to go to the bar. He didn't believe in anyone going out into the public. So not only could you only drink at the hotel, you had to drink at the hotel. Like you must drink with him every night.
That's right. Or if you ended up at his house, and I don't know this from personal experience, just from mutual friends of ours who've told me, he has a bar built in his basement, and there's no window. You don't see what time it is outside or anything. This is our friend Joel Stewart, by the way, ended up in his basement. And at one point, Tom got up to go to the washroom, and I don't know what time. It was I think the sun had come up, and Tom's wife came in and said, "If you need to leave, you should go now." How about that, man? That's for real.
He was a master.
So just thinking about some of the, if you could just maybe dust off the old memory banks and think of a couple of like moments where you're playing either the main stage or upstage. Maybe give me one of each where you looked out at that crowd, because it's kind of different in the bowl, the way the crowd rises up from you instead of disappears away from you or down or whatever. It's a pretty unique setup. But just like the first time you played it, or the crowd singing back, it's always a very positive atmosphere there.
Yeah, it was cool. And that place is, Yeah, it's a big bowl, natural
Yeah.
bowl. It's also really, there's something about that place that feels really organic. Like the whole place feels really natural. Like there's nothing fake there.
Yeah. No, organics, right? That's because it's into the actually into the bedrock of the land there.
Yeah, I always enjoyed, whenever I play country festivals, there's always one or two main acts I want to see, like whether it's an old classic act or occasionally a modern act. I kind of like Midland actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
But most of the time I gravitate upstairs there. But I'm never lots of times because I think the main stage ends at 10 or something. So you catch that classic country band that you've always wanted to see, and then you just wander up the stairs and somebody's always playing till 3 a.m. It's great.
And you obviously like playing in that environment and are quite comfortable getting up close with all the people who are there to see you.
Yeah, that's my favorite. It's funny because I'm torn because I like the big shows. Everybody likes playing big shows. It's fun and it's good for your career and you make money and it's cool. But my favorite shows are still like the little dirty, sweaty ones, like upstairs up the top of the hill there.
Yeah. It's
an interesting case study because I played both of those stages, and half of my brain likes the big stage because it's the big stage, but half of my brain, maybe 52% of my brain, loves the upstairs one just because it's wilder,
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
I like wild shit. I like the chaos of it all,
Yeah. Well, is everybody in your family and everything doing okay right now?
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Yep. My mom's got a little stir crazy. She's 80 and she's out on the farm by herself, and we're awful wary about visiting her too much because we don't want to get her sick. She's a little lonely, I think, but we talk to her quite a bit. And yeah, we're good.
But I would imagine if you're there in Lethbridge, you're probably not mingling with people all that often anyway. It's not like you're going out to restaurants and stuff, right?
No,
So
I don't see anybody. Just my girlfriend and my doggy.
Yeah.
The best, I have a few dolphin stories, but the best one is that, like, there's a guy from Houston. His name's Hayes Carl. He's my old touring friend. We've toured together a bunch. We've written songs together. We've recorded. We have a song called Bible in the Dash we recorded together. But we've known each other for forever. And he's from Texas. And I met him at Dauphin. I think it was 2006 maybe. But we ended up in a card game together with my ex, Debbie.
Yeah.
And somehow like 3 a.m. craziness, right? I think maybe Swifty was there. I can't remember, but that's where I met Hayes. And the way he tells it, both of us lost and Debbie won all the money that night. But it was cool to meet him there because I probably would have met him eventually because we sort of work in the same circles. But it was really good because that was he was one of the first people from that. Like there's a whole scene for underground music in Texas and Oklahoma, and it's really cool. They do their own thing. They have their own system. Yeah. But he was kind of one of the first people that sort of adopted us into that scene. And now Texas is one of our best markets down there. And Hayes had a lot to do with that. And not only that, but a huge, lifelong friendship too. So that all started in Dauphin.
I interviewed him because of you. You set that up at Dauphin. I interviewed Hayes at Dauphin because of you. Yeah. You're like, you got to talk to my buddy Hayes. He's going to be there. I'm like, okay. You were his publicist.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he did the same for me in Texas. So that's
great. Yeah. I know that I haven't been to Austin ever, which I'm disappointed about. That's on the list for sure. I've been to like Dallas and Houston, but never to San Antonio, never to Austin. But I know that they've got a very interesting.
How about Lubbock or Abilene? You ever been there?
No. No. Are you big in Lubbock?
I do pretty well there, yeah. But it's pretty West Texas desolation, I like it. I dig that kind of thing, but it's pretty Western.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can camouflage.
Yeah, I'm moving those circles, okay.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Austin, I actually lived in Austin a couple different times over the years for a year at a time, and it's really changed a lot. Like it's a music town, but it's really exploded in the tech sector.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Which has kind of changed the tech, kind of like they talk about how they're trying to change San Francisco too. But, every time I go there, it's different. And I guess that's just life. Things change, but it's becoming harder and harder for the funky music venues and the funky bands who used to make a living just playing around Austin to do it anymore because the property values are getting driven up and all that stuff, And every time you go down there, some classic music venue that's been there for 60 years that Willie Nelson played in and Bob Wills played in has been knocked down and condos have been built. So it's changing. And you can really tell during South by Southwest because I've played South by probably 10 times. And it used to be a music festival and they had a little film day and they had a little tech day. Now the tech part of it is massive. So it's just changed the face of the town, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's not quite in the same way, but I mean, if you visit New Orleans and you're looking for like authentic blues or something like that on Bourbon Street, you're not going to get it. You're going to get bands doing covers of Guns N' Roses songs. You got to get kind of out into the you got to get out into the sticks of Louisiana to hear the good stuff, you know?
That's probably true. Yeah, Texas is really cool though. It has a really cool appreciation for music. Like, you know, the percentage of people here on the street, at random people that would know who I was or know who Tim Huss was, is pretty small, right?
Yeah.
But in Texas, they all know their independent songwriters and stuff. Like my equivalent in Texas, like Hayes or any of these guys, like way more people know about them. It's pretty cool. Like they have a real deep appreciation for music there and a long history of it in their culture.
That's pretty cool, man. I like that. It's almost like they have their own star system, their own the people that get played on the radio in Texas that don't get played in any other states. Have you talked to our buddy Joel Stewart lately?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I know he's kind of fallen off the radar a little bit. His father passed away last year.
Oh.
Out in Victoria, so that kind of hit him. And I know that we've obviously we used to work together every day at CMT, but that's a long time ago now.
You stay in touch with him?
The odd text here and there. Yeah, I think he probably is. You know, he likes less of me. I think. You know, the annoying on-air guy. Like, oh Jesus Christ, here we go. I
should call him. Yeah, it was funny in those days because like you guys would always have the odd weirdo on like me, and like I wouldn't know any of the 70 top 20s or whatever. I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Up next, that was kind of what we liked about it, though, that we got, and that, you know, a tribute to Joel and his history in the world of music video direction and stuff, and his growing and living in Alberta for the time that he did, where he got to kind of know all you guys and was able to bring some of that, and I think probably made a real impact on some careers by putting people on.
There's about 2 or 3 people that are the most significant in my career growth. He's definitely in the top 3.
Yeah.
Like he was a real champion for us, for lots of bands like us, but like he made those couple of videos and then like the truck video and that stuff and the Roughest Neck Around and stuff. And he
Hair in My Eyes, right?
Yeah. And so, and he saw to it that they got played. So that was a big boost for me for sure.
Yeah. They got a lot of play on CMT.
Yeah. That was my brief romance with mainstream country.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, whatever you can certainly add to the strength of your fan base.
Like I still play Country Fest to this day because of those tunes.
Yeah.
Like I play a weird array of like Dolphin's right in the sweet spot because they cater both to country music and to underground country music. But like I play everything from the odd indie rock festival in Montreal and Victoria to like folk fest to you know, Texas indie country fest. But I play probably every summer. Normally I'll play 3 or 4 straight up country fests in Canada.
Yeah.
And people know those tunes still to this day from CMT.
Well, I'm glad to see you staying safe, man. I'm glad to hear that your family's all good and you're being responsible and that you kind of are wrapping your head around this thing in a kind of big picture way. That seems very healthy and it's a good message to send.
Yeah, I'm good. I feel bad for younger bands because I mean, I can weather this because people will remember me when the thing's over, probably, hopefully.
Yeah.
Guys that are just getting started or bands or girls that are just getting started and they're just starting to get traction. And then they got to sit still for 18 months. That's tough because you might lose that spark. You know how it works. If you get any spark in this business, you got to blow on it and you may never get another one. So I feel bad for younger bands that are just getting going financially as well, right?
I was talking about that very same thing with Terry Clark and realizing that the position that she's in is a little bit different because people aren't going to forget about Terry Clark. She'll be able to come back and her catalog is so deep that she'll be able to play shows like for as long as she wants to, and you're in that similar situation where you've got the catalog and the fan base that's already established. So this is not a game changer. You have to adapt. We're all going to have to adapt.
I feel the same for venues too. Like lots of venues that are around for decades that are classic venues are shutting their doors because they just can't do it, right?
Yeah.
Like I can come out of hibernation in a year and whatever, but like some of those venues, if they can't pay their rent, they have to shut down. Maybe some other venue will come in, but that classic venue that's been there for 40 years is gone forever, right?
It's good to catch up with you, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I'll if I ever get to Toronto, I'll get a beer.